This podcast is sponsored by the book, The Concept, A Critical and Honest Look at God and Religion, by Bo Bennett, Ph.D. Challenge your beliefs and explore faith through science and reason. Discover more at godtheconcept.com.
Right, so First Thessalonians. Right. Lots of people want to wrap their heads around this book.
Oh, yeah. It's fascinating.
Like you mentioned, it's more than just an old letter. Like, it really gives us
a glimpse.
A glimpse, yeah, into what these early Christians were thinking about.
Exactly.
Back then, and kind of their day-to-day
struggles and anxieties.
Struggles and anxieties, exactly.
Especially with all the persecution that was going on.
Yeah.
And this whole idea that, the world might be ending soon.
Yeah. They really thought that, huh?
They really did.
So, to get us started, remind us who Paul was and who exactly were the Thessalonians.
Okay. So Paul, he was a big deal in early Christianity, right? Like, first he was persecuting Christians, but then he had this huge conversion experience and became like a super evangelist.
Right.
He was traveling all over the place, spreading the word, starting these new Christian communities.
Yeah.
And one of those communities was in the Thessalonica.
Got it.
In Greece. And the people there, the Thessalonians, they were his new converts. They were really into this new faith.
So this letter is just Paul, like, checking in on them.
In a way, yeah. I mean, it was written around 50 A.D., which was, like, not that long after Jesus died.
Wow.
So he was definitely giving them guidance as new Christians, but it's so much more than that.
What do you mean?
Well, First Thessalonians, it's really a window into their lives, their worries, their hopes, all in a world that wasn't exactly friendly to their new religion.
Oh, yeah, I bet. I mean, the Roman Empire wasn't known for being tolerant of new religions.
Exactly. And the Thessalonians, they were facing some tough times because of their beliefs.
That's what I was reading.
Yeah. Paul actually praises them for staying strong, despite the persecution. I mean, when you think about it, that really emphasizes how hard things were for them.
I guess when you put it that way, yeah.
They were going through a lot.
And on top of all that, they were expecting Jesus to return any day, weren't they?
Yeah. The second coming of Christ. It's called the Parousia.
Parousia, right.
It was a huge part of their belief system. And in this letter, it seems like Paul thought it was going to happen, like, really, really soon.
Like, while he was still alive.
Maybe even.
Wow. Obviously, that didn't happen.
Nope.
So how do we understand that today? I mean, how literally are we supposed to take these prophecies?
Well, that's a huge question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really makes you think about how we interpret these ancient texts. Do we take them literally?
Right.
Or is there, like, a deeper symbolic meaning? It's a question that scholars have been debating for centuries.
For sure.
And for the Thessalonians themselves, imagine how they felt as time went on.
Yeah, waiting for the world to end, and it just doesn't.
It's going to make you question things.
Definitely. And speaking of questioning things, I noticed some of the stuff Paul talks about, like the roles of women and slavery.
Oh, yeah.
Like, those ideas don't really fit with our modern-day values, do they?
Not at all. It's a good reminder that even these sacred texts were written in a specific time and place.
Totally.
Like, what was normal back then is definitely not normal now. For example, in chapter 4, verses 9 to 12, Paul tells the Thessalonians to work quietly and kind of mind their own business.
Interesting.
Which back then probably made sense.
Right.
They didn't want to attract attention because, being a Christian was kind of dangerous back then.
Right.
But today, it could be interpreted in a totally different way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So how are we supposed to make sense of all this? Like, how do we appreciate the historical context, but still deal with the fact that some of these ideas are, like, really problematic for us now?
That's a really good question.
And what about the supernatural stuff?
Oh, yeah, the miracles.
Yeah. The miracles of resurrection, Paul talks about all that. How does that fit in with our modern scientific view of the world?
Well, for people who take the Bible literally, that can be tough to reconcile. I mean, science relies on observation and evidence. That's how we understand the world now. But back then, the supernatural was just part of life. They didn't have the same scientific framework that we do today.
I see. So where do we even begin to understand a text like First Thessalonians?
It all comes down to critical thinking, really. Whether you're religious or not, you have to approach these texts with a critical eye.
Okay.
Consider the historical context.
Right.
Think about potential biases. What was Paul trying to achieve when he wrote this?
Right.
Those are all important questions to ask.
And those are all important questions to ask about, well, really any information we come across. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just the Bible.
Critical thinking is a skill that applies to everything.
Totally.
Yeah.
So to sum all this up, 1 Thessalonians, it's not just some dusty old religious text.
So,
It's like a time capsule.
yes.
It gives us a glimpse into a community dealing with real issues, fears, beliefs.
And those issues, they might seem strange to us now,
They do.
but they were very real to them.
And it makes you wonder, right? Like, what do we believe today
Hmm.
that people will look back on in 100, 200 years and think, wow, they really thought that.
That's a great point.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Our understanding of the world has changed so much over time.
Right.
And it will continue to change. It makes you realize that everything is kind of relative.
That's a lot to think about.
It is.
Thanks for helping us unpack all this. It's been
Oh, my pleasure.
really fascinating. And to everyone listening, let us know if there are any other controversial texts you'd like us to dive into.
We're always up for a challenge.
Thanks again.
Thank you.